We are fighting a just cause for them. We are fighting. We are telling them that what you are entitled to as a student, you are not getting it. This is because federal government has refused to fund education in Nigeria. Do you know some staff don't have offices? Some they pair themselves for in the room in one office. No well furnished office, and you call yourself a doctor and all that. Science is even dying. Science is dying in Nigeria. Science is dying. Basic thing that students should have access to do their experiments, what we read in textbooks. Now you want to experiment, you don't have what it takes to do that. So is that education? So you keep doing theory, and you know what rules the world is practical. Go outside the country. All this technology.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Lost Lagosians. I'm your host, Brother Mike. We begin today's episode with a quote from George Peabody. It's a pretty common quote. It is as follows: "Education is a debt owed the future generations by the present generation." U.S. Senator Mitt Romney also is famously known for saying that education is an investment our present generation can make for the future. So education is something that is supposed to be taken important and significantly. And today we're talking about higher education with focus on the Academic Staff Union of Universities, or Academic Staff Union of Nigerian Universities. But they're called ASUU for short, ASUU. And ASUU is a union of professors and lecturers and staff and faculty of universities in Nigeria. The union is formed so as to protect the interest of the professors, lecturers, and university staff, and it also helps with making sure that the minimum standards of education are met in the country. Personally, I went to higher education in Nigeria before migrating, and the ASUU has always been known to strike. Like, they are notorious for striking. Now, it is not ASUU's fault per se, but rather the government's fault, because ASUU has always been ASUU, and ASUU has always been there, but the government changes hands every time the politicians get voted out of office or lost elections. And back in the 90s, it was during the military era, whereby the politicians don't really care much about education, and they care rather about other things besides education. And that's why I started this podcast with the quotes from George Peabody and from Senator Mitt Romney. Now, I haven't said all of that. I'm going to give a quick summary of ASUU's strike. Now, we go back to 1999, the year where ASUU was on strike for 150 days. That's the same year that democracy started in Nigeria. So ASUU was on strike in 1999 for 150 days. 2 years later, 2001, it was on strike for 90 days. In 2003, ASUU was on strike for 180 days. In 2007, ASUU was on strike for 90 days. In 2009, ASUU was on strike for 120 days. And they reached an important agreement, which we'll reference to later. In 2010, ASUU was on strike for 157 days. In 2011, ASUU was on strike for 90 days. In 2013, ASUU was on strike for 150 days. In 2017, ASUU was on strike for 35 days. 2018, ASUU was on strike for 96 days. In 2020, ASUU was on strike for 257 days. In 2020, ASUU was on strike for over 257 days. The agreement that was reached in 2009 was renegotiated in 2020. And around March of 2020, ASUU and the federal government were not able to come to an agreement, so ASUU went on strike. From March of 2020 to around November, December 2020, ASUU was on strike, and that strike got called off. Then back in May of 2021, ASUU went on strike again, and then they settled, and that came up to November. They reached an agreement in November 2021. But some of the agreements that was reached in 2020 was broken. ASUU had some requirements that they wanted the government to meet, but the government was not able to meet that. So ASUU said, you know what, we're gonna go on strike again. They embarked on that strike action in March 2020 based on the disagreements that the government couldn't reach. Part of them was University Transparency and Accountability Solution Software, UTAS, and that's just how salaries are paid and allowances are paid. So we can go on and on talking about like what's wrong with ASUU or what's wrong with the government. But I figured, why do that if I have a really good friend of mine who we go way back, went to college together, and also actually went to the same high school back in Nigeria. So she's now a professor in Nigeria, one of the prestigious universities. And I wanted her to shed some light on what's going on with ASUU. Recently, as of the time of this recording, ASUU has threatened that it will be extending their strike Right now, they have something called rolling strikes. So that's something that you can only hear in Nigeria, whereby like they kind of assume the government will not listen to them. So they just say, you know what, we're going to be rolling. So every 8 weeks, ASUU has these rolling strikes. There's another one called warning strike. So warning strike is where they're like, okay, we're going to warn you because we know you're not going to listen. We're going to go ahead and strike anyway. As of March 14, 2022, ASUU extended strikes for another 2 months. This is published by Vanguard, VanguardNigeria.com. Vanguard is the popular newspaper. So they're extending from March to May 2022. This episode is being recorded here just about the end of April. We kind of talk about the foundation of the problem. It's a little bit interesting because I'm really amazed by how passionate she was. We look at some of the facts and kind of compare how education is between Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, US, and other parts of the world, Turkey. I really hope that you do find some value in this. And again, my colleague here is very passionate. She's a professor at one of the top prestigious universities in Nigeria. I'm so honored that she's able to join, and I'm very glad that she can make it. I'm very glad she could make time to talk to us about it. The intent here is not to be political or to politicize anything. It's just having a conversation about the current situation of higher education in Nigeria. There's some background noise, but it gets better over time, so I apologize about that, and sorry about that. But the background noise definitely goes away as you listen. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the show. ASUU is on strike. Why?
We have so many things now that is on board that the federal government has refused to, what we've tabled before them that they are refused to work on. So we've been on strike since February.
February of 2022. Why is ASUU on strike?
Yeah, 2020, we went on 9-month strike. Then the same thing which we went on strike for, up to now, federal government has not addressed the issue. You understand? The renegotiation of workers' welfare, condition of service, and the way they keep multiplying university is not helping the educational system in Nigeria. And then what else? Okay, the payment platform, which currently they are paying with, is fraudulent. You understand? So many irregularities and all that. So, and university is an autonomous community. So, autonomous community, we work alone. We don't need anything to distract or obstruct our modus operandi.
Your mission.
So, yeah, so we had to we don't want this system, this platform of payment. We want ours. You understand? So since, local content is all about, local content now. You used to hear local content.
No, I don't know what that is.
So to promote our indigenous services, like if you develop anything, instead of every time the Nigerian government will go and get expatriate from outside the country, expatriate, in every field, expatriate. So we don't want that anymore. It was during the time of Jonathan that commission was established. Local content. So everything, our road, they train people, they send people abroad, they pay heavily. They pick indigenes, send them abroad for training, come back, and then use them to develop our own country instead of involving experts, from different fields come and work. So there, we also developed a platform, very high-tech platform, but because of politics now, and then they know because ASUU is always fighting government. So they said, okay, we'll subject it to integrity test and all that. So they subjected all those, the software to integrity test. And at the end, we scored, the platform scored 99.3. Now tell me, in your own way of reasoning and judgment in terms of awarding mark, if somebody scores 99.3, what kind of grade are you going to give to that person?
That's almost 100%.
Good.
That's an A.
The federal government, they refused accepting it because of politics. So we are on it too. We've been on strike since February.
The local content just means that for every work that needs an expert,
promote our indigenous
the locals who are like catchment areas to that school or something like that.
No. Professionals. If you read engineering, if you have what it takes, maybe in terms of, okay, for example, instead of every time go and call Julius Berger to build, You understand? To construct our road. So we, instead of, moving out our whole money, paying expatriates from other countries to come and work on
foreigners,
our road, we'll now use our own people, graduates, experts in various fields. I said it's an organization, just the way you have NAFDAC. This one is national. Just go, if you Google NCMVB, or so National Content Development something board. I can't remember the last word. Development board. Find out what they do. You understand? They pay the guys there. The guys there, they travel around the world. They pay them. In fact, it's an organization with hot cake. As in, if for you to get in there, now for you to get into that organization, now guys there, they travel now.
Different parts of the world. Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB.
Yes. So they promote our local district. If you anything. Yes, our content, whatever. We don't need to start going abroad, bringing in people from different parts of the world.
This is nice. In 2010,
Yes, Jonathan's time. You read more on them, you see. They are. So that's the thing. So now we said from that year, federal government decided, instead of bringing in those people, whatever we develop here, we must promote and use. ASUU now developed UTAS. You understand? University Transparent Accountability Software. We developed that. Still, federal government refused accepting it. So we're like, okay, fine. So what's the essence of the local content? Since people will not take it, will not accept it. So coupled with so many other issues. So we've been on strike.
I mean, what I'm seeing online here says, let me kind of read through this. The Nigerian
content.
The Nigerian Local Content Bill received presidential approval on April 2, 2010. It's a 10-year act, right? So it's a 10-year act. The act states without equivocation that Nigerian independent operators shall be given first consideration in the award of oil blocks, licenses, projects.
Contracts.
Yes. So basically, without any equivocation, that means without any arguments, Nigerian independent operators and locals shall be given first consideration. Number two, there shall be exclusive consideration to Nigerian indigenous service companies, which demonstrates ownership of equipment, ownership of Nigerian personnel, and capacity to execute such work to bid on those projects. So basically, it's something that Jonathan did that wants to help Nigerian. This is something that Jonathan did that wants to help Nigerian locals.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, but what you guys are saying is that as a demand for the ASUU strike to end, you want that to be enacted?
The UTAS? You mean the UTAS?
No, the Nigerian NCMB.
No, we want the software. See, part of the local content, like what you just read. If you call it the locals per se, it will look as if a layman should hear that. The layman will think it's just for unskilled labor, maybe people that didn't go to school. We are talking about both the locals and the professionals. You understand? Now, for example, ASUU is an association that covers an umbrella that houses all the whole academic staff in the university. You understand?
Of Nigeria.
And of Nigeria. Now, this is a professional body. This is an intellectual organization that have been able to develop a software that the whole country can even use. Are you getting it? So now, this kind of software, this is what local content promotes. The essence of, now I'm taking it back to local content.
Right.
One of the essence of local content is to promote such. So now, since ASUU developed this software, a platform, that can be used for payment, that has everything. So local content, because it's part of our local content, the act says to promote. They decided to politicize it. Instead of them to promote it, they now decided to politicize, because the Minister of Communication was given the position of a professor under a false, false background. He didn't undergo what it takes, the rudiment of becoming a professor. He didn't undergo such. So, and you cannot be it is not possible that you are a minister and also you are lecturing. It's not possible. If
you can't do two at the same time, obviously.
No. You have to put one on secondment. When you are done with your ministerial position, you come back and lecture if you want to lecture. Are you getting it?
Yeah.
You can't hold both positions at the same time. So for the fact that you can't hold both positions at the same time, it means there is no way you can become a professor.
Yeah, there's no way you can be a professor and also lecture too.
No. There is no way. When he was a minister of, when he was appointed minister of communication, he was a doctor.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I get that.
He was a doctor when he was appointed. Yeah, minister of communication. So how come from doctor you became a professor? Still, while you are still in the same office, is it possible? You were not lecturing, because part of what it takes to become that is that.
Is that you're lecturing? That's one of the requirements for a certain number of years.
Yes, for a certain number of years. Number one, supervision, publications, and all that. So many things are involved. Was your paper assessed? Because before you become a professor, your papers must be sent out, not peer review, to different professors of your, different area, your area. 3 universities in Nigeria. They will just send it scatteredly like that. So at the end, if you have 2 over 3. That means you can become a professor. But that's 3 assessors must assess you. So if at the end of the whole assessment, if 2 out of the 3 gives you a pass mark, then no problem. That means your professorial position is sure. If one gives you out of 3, no, that means you have to repeat the following year. They have to
try again
your paper. Try again next year. That is why you see some professors, they would stay like 5 years, although some people, if you don't have godfather politics and all that, can also play down your opportunity of becoming a professor.
But what's the way forward now? What's the solution?
So in his own case, now, I'm giving you all this story. The Minister of Education was a doctor as at when he was appointed.
Appointed, right?
Are you getting it? Yes, as minister. So there was no way he would have been running the office of a Minister of Communication and at the same time lecturing. Are you getting it?
Yeah, right. It's not possible. So, but what's the solution? I understand what you're saying. I mean, how do you move forward?
He is the one now playing down the software. He is the one kicking against it, because we are fighting. ASUU is fighting against his professorial position. That how did he get it? You can't be in the office. So that is why this NIT that boss is also an organization in charge of all this telecommunication. That boss now is not playing along. So they are playing that, tossing the ASUU up and down that this thing did not pass this, pass that. Meanwhile, your test and other experts and professionals, they were there, ASUU displayed everything, and we arrived at 99.3. So how can you say somebody that's scored 99.3 failed?
Ibrahim?
Yes, Patami.
Yeah, Pantami.
Issa Patami.
Wow, very interesting. Interesting backstory.
So that is why he's the one. He's the source of it.
Yeah, so he's the one who will decide, which is weird.
No, he's fighting us now. He's fighting us because we said, because the ASUU said your professor is not recognized. Your professorial position is not recognized because you were a minister, and there was no way you would have been lecturing and meet up the requirement to become a professor. So we don't recognize your professorship. So he's now using his own office as a minister of communication to play down our own platform to ensure that UTAS does not see the daylight.
Wow.
Everything in Nigeria is politics. Everything in Nigeria is politics. So that's why I don't bother coming back. Remain where you are. Remain where you are for now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, wherever you're outside Nigeria, remain. Otherwise, I don't know. It's like ASUU's always been striking forever anyway. Even since long time immemorial. ASUU striking.
Yeah, because their demands are never met. Their demands were never met.
Or their demands are not prioritized.
Each time. No, yes. Each time they come up with their demands, and government will try to just kick it, just the way they killed public primary school. I and you, we both went to, and I went to a government school. Do you know that then government school used to be government school, were the days we went to school. You can't come to Nigeria now, you hardly find enough students. Only the poor, when I mean the very, very poor, the poor masses are the ones that cannot afford private schools are the ones you see in government school. But an average Nigeria have their children or their child in a private school. So they've killed government primary school. They've killed government secondary school. So they're about to kill government tertiary institution. And that is what ASUU is refusing. Otherwise, an average poor man will not be able to afford the school fees. They want to make the school fees 1 million. 1 million naira. So tell me, an average Nigerian, can they pay that kind of school fees? So ASUU is fighting a just cause.
To make education, at least tertiary education, affordable.
Affordable, exactly. That is just the point. To make it affordable. Most of us that are talking today, most of us
went to public
from there, went to a government school. Yeah, public university. How much did our parents pay? Government school. Just Uniben. Nevertheless, we knew how much they were paying. It was affordable.
Yep. No, I agree with you. And even here in America and other parts of the West, they have all these loan and federal government aid, scholarships, those kind of programs that will help.
Nigeria, you know what they want? They wanted the student to collect loan to pay tuition fee. But you know, whatever they do in Nigeria, there's always a selfish interest behind it. Imagine you collecting loan. The student will collect loan about 1 million. How many years will it take that student to pay back that loan? And of course, there's no job opportunity. When the student graduates, there's a job employment opportunity for that person. The person can easily pay off the loan without problem. You understand? We just pay the loan with relative ease. But in this case, no job. So how do you want the students to pay? So you want to hold them in bondage. That's the meaning. So we don't want that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So ASUU is just trying to protect the interest of the Nigerian students. Yep.
And our welfare, the salary is nothing to write home about. And our welfare too, our salary package.
It's just most societies, not just Nigeria, they don't prioritize education anyway. Even some Western nations. I don't think America.
You are in America. You should be able to tell me that. You can't say America don't prioritize
not
education.
America.
I don't think
not America. But if you look at all these Eastern European countries, some parts like Turkey, different countries like that, I don't think they give enough budget as they should for education. You understand? So yeah.
You mean Turkey don't prioritize education?
I mean, I'm not. Turkey is just an example, but in the US, for example, it's 6%, right? United States spend 6.2%, according to the data I have here. 6% of their GDP on
United Nations says the budget, the yearly budget, that education should be allocated 26.6% of whatever the budget is for the year. Do you know how many percent Nigeria allocates to education annually?
No, tell me.
Do I interest you?
Please, yeah, go ahead.
6%. 6
of the annual budget.
I am telling you.
Yeah, but the US, like I said, is also spending 6.2% of their GDP anyway. I'm looking up the one that Nigeria spends.
I don't think it should be up to that. It shouldn't be up to that.
So in 2019, the Nigerian education expenditure amounted to 7.12% of the total federal budget, based on the data on statista.com.
Does it make sense?
7.2%. I mean, if the US is doing 6.2%, I think Nigeria is 7.2%. Again, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate.
We are talking about the annual budget.
This one is total federal budget. 7.12% of the total federal budget was assigned. Now, some other countries do 10%. Some do 10.5%.
Ghana is even above Nigeria. Ghana here. Look at this Ghana. Ghana, South Africa, I'm sure Kenya, some other. That is why if you look at the ranking, university ranking in the world, before you will see Nigeria, you will see on the lead, you see Egypt, South Africa, Egypt, Kenya, and some other, even Ghana, before you talk about any Nigerian.
So Ghana, I mean, again, I'm just fact-checking what you're saying. Ghana spent 4% of GDP in 2018. I think the problem is not necessarily, I think the problem Nigeria might be how they spend that money. So if they are spending, according to what I have, 2019, 7.2%, number one, Nigeria is a much bigger country than Ghana is. Lagos itself is just as big as Ghana, just in terms of population. I guess what I'm trying to say is, how is that money spent? How much of that money goes to ASUU?
That is the thing now.
And how much of that money is given to us? Because maybe not all of them is given to ASUU. Maybe some of them is given to other people's pockets. Yeah. I mean, we need to dig a little deeper. I understand the need to make local content and stuff like that. I agree with you on that. And I think education should be important. I also think they should not try and privatize public institutions, because then the poor won't be able to afford. I mean, I think ASUU should meet the government and they should try and debate and find what makes sense.
Politicians are looking for a way to privatize public institutions, and ASUU will not take it. In fact, as far as Nigeria is concerned, Nigeria of today is concerned, the strongest body or association you can talk about is ASUU. It is only ASUU that can hold down federal government. And also, these people are also trying NMA. Nigerian Medical Association, their own is just their welfare. NMA is just their welfare. Once you pay them, they don't care whether you like to equip the hospital.
Nigerian Labour Congress.
No, Nigerian Labour is
NLC. Isn't NLC that was shut down? Nobody goes anywhere.
NLC does not even have weight more than ASUU. ASUU is like a branch under NLC. NLC is for everybody. NLC will say they want to go on strike today, and before you know it, they will give them money, and the whole protest they'll just call off the protest. ASUU doesn't work like that. That is why I say ASUU people know that ASUU is the strongest body. We don't sabotage our effort. We have what we call before. Okay, let me just put it this way. Before we call off strike, the national will throw it back to the zone. Then the zone will go back to branches. So we will not vote it. Our vote is what counts. If we vote that we want this strike called off, it will be called off today. But if our vote says we are not called, if they check the vote and the percentage of don't call off is more than the call off, it will remain like that. So that is how we take our decision. National don't take decision on behalf of the branch or branches. They collect data. It is after collecting the information, whoever carries the majority carries the vote. You understand? So for the fact that this strike continues, so if we want it, if members start contesting, grumbling, and all that, it's okay, fine. Let us hold a meeting. Each branch will hold their meeting. So majority will carry the day. Yeah. So national cannot just wake up and say, no, we are calling up the strike.
I know, but what do you tell the Nigerian students? We
are fighting a just cause for them. We are fighting. We are telling them that what you are entitled to as a student, you are not getting it. This is because federal government has refused to fund education in Nigeria. If you come, no hostels now, no hostel. Can you imagine the lab where I teach, my microbiology lab now? You understand? There is how many equipment do we have? Basic equipment that people play around with in US and other country. We don't have it. So these are the things we are shouting that we need this. Okay, even offices. Some staff don't have offices. Some they pair themselves in the room in one office. No well furnished office. And you call yourself a doctor and all that. Not as for me, I have an office, but what about others? So it's still insufficient. So these are the things government are meant to do: fund education, fund universities, so that we can build more hostels, build more offices, structures,
and educate the future, because your future is your children.
Science is even dying. Science is dying in Nigeria. Science is dying. Basic thing that students should have access to do their experiments, what we read in textbooks. Now you want to experiment, you don't have what it takes to do that. So it's that education. So you keep doing theory. And what rules the world is practical. Go outside the country. All this technology, they are not theory now. If they were theory now, there won't be technology now. Technology is about practical output. You must do something. You must put your hands on something and then innovate and create something, make something out of it. And that is technology, using something to create something.
Wow. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was really good. I just wish the government can take this more serious than they currently are doing. Wow. Thank you for your time. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. Let's pray for the best and let's hope that ASUU calls off this strike. Please, if you've not yet subscribed to our channel, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment. And don't forget to follow us on all the social media platforms at Lost Lagosians. Thank you so much. And Eko Onibaje. All right. Bye now.